Hello everybody, welcome to the pregnancy vlog, and this is going to be our last pregnancy vlog.
This is week 3 technically, but week 3 after he's born.
Week 3.
He's 3 years old today.
3 weeks old.
Wait, quick.
That went quick. That went really quick. So this is going to be a vlog of our birth story.
The summary.
We have got a video which you may have seen if you watch our daily vlogs, which aren't daily anymore, where we had the camera with us in the hospital, so we've got like real life action shots. There's nothing, no nudity.
Oh, well, I'm going to watch now.
But if you've seen that, that's sort of clips from throughout the day. If you haven't seen that, then go and watch that, because it's quite cool. But we thought we'd do like a more detailed version of me talking to you about it. I think it's quite an interesting birth story, because everything like in just a couple of days was thrown out the window. We were actually going to do the last vlog from like week 39, 40 on the actual day that he decided to arrive, so I'm sorry that didn't happen, but baby had other ideas. We had lots of plans, but no. So basically on the Friday before I was due, when I was 39 plus 5, I had my last midwife appointment. So I went to see her. Everything appeared normal at first, and she offered to do a sweep, and I said yes please, because I was desperate for him to come. Like, I had mixed feelings, because I knew that I'd miss being pregnant, so I didn't want to like be all like, oh yeah, I just want him out, but I really wanted to see him, and I was really uncomfortable. I did want him out. But so she did the sweep. She'd already felt my tummy and done the blood pressure and all the usual things, which were fine, and she said that he was very low and even more engaged, and I was like, oh yeah, great, so do the sweep and it might have a chance of working. And also it was like that coming weekend was the bank holiday weekend, so quite good timing. So she did the sweep. She said that I was 1 centimetre dilated and the cervix was like ready. And then she spent quite a while like trying to push baby down lower and feeling for something. I was like, And then she said, I think that's a bottom. I was like, oh, great. So she tried to like find out whether it was head or bottom. She wasn't 100% sure, but she said she's pretty sure that it was too squidgy for a head. So she rang up the hospital whilst I was there to try and get me in for a presentation scan. And so I had to literally leave the doctors and drive over to the hospital in Cheltenham. And they did a presentation scan there, and the little monkey was bottom down, so he was breech. And at this point I was like, great, like he was breech, he turned, and he's been head down for weeks, so why is he now going back the other way? So quite stressful. So they found out he was breech. Obviously at this point I'm 2 days away from my due date, so there's a bit of a panic. We're booked into Cheltenham Hospital. You can't have a breech delivery there. So whilst I was still there, they rang Gloucester Hospital. So then I had to go all the way over to Gloucester. So it was a very busy day. So off I go to Gloucester, and they send a doctor to see me, and she goes through all the options. So we had 3 options. One, you can attempt a natural breech delivery, but they don't recommend it. Obviously the bottom comes out first, and your cervix doesn't have to fully dilate to get the bottom out, because that's the smaller end. So by the time the head comes, then there's like issues getting the head out. And from the presentation scan and various comments, people were saying he had a very large head. I was like, probably not the best option. Then the other two were you can just have an elective cesarean, or they can try an ECV, which is where they try to manually turn the baby. And she said that she would recommend it. She recommended that there was a 60% chance that he would turn, because I wasn't keen on it, because at our antenatal classes the midwife said, like, in all her years of midwifery, she had only seen one baby turn, and that was in a lady that had already had 5, so everything was obviously quite loose. Like, when it's your first, your muscles are really tight. We already knew that he was a fairly sizable baby, and I am not that big. So, but then she said 60%. I thought that's a fair chance, and if it saves you having an operation, great. So then we booked in for that for Saturday, which was the following day. So I go home, and then we go back the following morning. The doctor was very nice. He tried his very, very, very hardest to turn him, but I wasn't having any of it. Like, the doctor actually got hand cramp from trying, like, so hard to turn the baby. So he gave it like a couple of attempts, and he said, look, like, the head is literally doing this, and that is it. That's the only movement I'm getting. So we decided to stop because there's no point. So then he sits down to have another chat with us, because then that only leaves 2 options, which was either the natural delivery breech or a C-section. Now, we did ask like a few questions about it and everything, but basically there was only one option, so the C-section. So he goes away and he comes back in. They've booked us in for the bank holiday Monday to have the elective cesarean. So they thought, that's good, we've got a day or 2 days to prepare, because there's a bit of a change from what we'd planned. So we thought, okay, that's fine, we'd get everything. We had plans for Sunday. Obviously Aiden's birthday was coming up on the Wednesday, so we went out on the Saturday night to have an early birthday. And then we thought Sunday we'd do the last plug, bits around the house we wanted to get ready. What else were we going to do? There were quite a few things that we thought we'd get done on the Sunday. So Saturday night, really nice meal out. Went round to Christine's for a bit, and then we came home. Sunday morning I woke up at 5:45, because I think, like, it literally woke me up because I was wet, and I was like, oh no. So I ran out of bed, ran into the toilet. I had, like, my knickers that I had on were soaked, and I wasn't sure. I thought my waters had gone. I wasn't 100%, because after that initial gush there wasn't anything else that came out. But then I had 2 pains in my tummy. I was like, oh, I think this might be it. So I go back into the bedroom, and Aiden's sort of stirring a little bit. I was like, I've got to ring the hospital. I think my waters have gone. So I rang them, explained what had happened, and they said to come up and they'll check. So off we go again. Regulars at the trip to Gloucester at this point. So they were just switching over by the time we got there to the morning, like the daytime staff. So we had to wait a little bit. So I was led down, and they put a trace on to make sure baby was happy, which was all fine. And then someone came around eventually to check. Throughout this time I'd been having, like, mild contractions. I was quite happy because, like, they weren't painful. They were just sort of, it was tight, it was uncomfortable, but, like, completely bearable. I was also quite happy because I'd felt like a bit cheated, because I thought I'm going to go and have this cesarean on Monday. Like, the labour wouldn't have even started. I'll never get to experience labour. I won't ever know what a contraction feels like. I know that sounds really weird, but like I did feel a bit cheated. So I got the best of both worlds, really. So they came and checked, and she was like, oh yeah, they've definitely gone. By this point, I was pretty sure they'd gone, because like they put like pads under the bed and that was soaked. So they said, right, well, we're bringing the C-section forward to today, so then it ends up as an emergency section, because like baby had other ideas. So they said, you should be going down pretty soon. It was obviously quite early on the Sunday. They were quite quiet and everything. So like, great. So don't have to wait around that long. Don't have to wait till it gets really bad, labour-wise. So they just left us in the triage bit while we waited. The doctor came back round, the surgeon, put like the thing in your hand. What's that called? Cannula in my hand. They took blood and whatever else they needed to do, like needles everywhere. So then we were waiting. Contractions were at this point getting a little bit worse. The doctors just like do stupid breathing, which doesn't work. Blimmin' breathing. Like, I can see the point. You're concentrating on the breathing to get the contraction to wear off. And yes, until they were getting quite bad, it was okay. The breathing did sort of do something. But then they started lasting longer, coming more frequently, and were blimmin' painful. Like, by this point, they checked a few times and I'd got up to 3 centimetres dilated. I'd had no pain relief, and I was getting 3 within 10 minutes, and they were lasting like a long time. So basically I wasn't having very long at all, like seconds in between with no contractions. Because we were in triage, there was no gas and air. They wouldn't give me like any injection pain relief, because I was obviously going to have the C-section. And there was an emergency happened with some other lady, so my doctor had to go off and deliver that baby, so I was left. I think I had 5 hours of labour in the end. 4 hours of that we were in the triage, so no pain relief. I think after like 4 hours they came and moved me because it was hurting. I was like,
she was causing a ruckus.
I was making noise and probably upsetting the other ladies. There was a couple of other ladies that were just in there having a trace done, like just routine trace and everything, and there's me like in agony, so they decided it was best to move me. So we went into like a delivery room where they had gas and air. Amazing, I love gas and air. Like they were like, oh, well, it doesn't take the pain away completely, but gosh, like it was completely different with the gas and air. Like, it made me so lightheaded. It was like floating on a cloud. It was brilliant. And although like it didn't take the pain away, like it just went back to being uncomfortable, like it was like in the very early stages. So I honestly think like if I'd have had that, or even if I'd have just carried on from that stage and had to go through the labour, like a normal labour, it would have been fine with the gas and air. So yeah, that was great. So we just sat in that room for, I think, for just about an hour, and then they were ready to take us down. We had to be wheeled down to the theatre, and they took my gas and air away, which was not popular. But once we were back in the theatre, it was back again, so that was okay. So they had to put the spinal in once we got to the theatre. Aidan had been decked out in some attractive scrubs, which I actually quite liked the scrubs. They looked quite cool in the scrubs. So other videos got some clips of him in the scrubs. And she had a bit of a job getting the spinal thing in. That was like taking a while, so the contractions were still going on. I was like, oh my god, like they're like saying not to move because they're putting a needle in my spine, but I've got a contraction. I was like, ah.
She couldn't see, but I looked round and the needle, I was like that long.
Did you see the needle?
Yeah, it was like that
Oh
long.
god, I don't want to know what they are. Oh, like she put some anaesthetic spray on my back, so like I couldn't actually feel the needle going in. I don't want to see what the needle was. I didn't know the needle was that long. It was, horrible. So I was like there, like my stomach's contracting. I've got gas and air back. I'm like, oh my god, I can't move. But she got it in, and it works like pretty quickly. It was amazing. Like the pain was completely gone. So laid down on the bed, and they test if it's worked with a piece of ice. So they like run it up your leg, and it gets further up until you can feel. You have to say when you can feel the cold, and it was so weird because I couldn't feel it at all until it got like it was just by my ribs. The first time she did it, and then she did it like again, like literally like a minute later, and it had travelled up like just under my boob. So just like in all that time, it had moved so quickly and so bizarre because you can't feel anything. So, wow, I thought I was waiting for them to start, but then she said, oh, they've already cut you. I was like, oh, right, okay. And then before we knew it, they lifted him up over the sheet. You don't get to see any nasty... Although I would have been interested to have a look inside. But they lifted him up.
You can see that on the other video.
Yeah, the lifting up clip is on there, which is really nice. And it's just like, it's not so little baby boy. And up he comes. I cried. I was like... and then they took him over to the little thing, cleaned him up, did his cord and everything, and then they brought him over and they laid him on me while they finished off. I think it took about another half an hour just for them to finish off. They obviously have to get the placenta out, and they suck out nasty stuff and then stitch you up. So we got to hold him while they were doing that. Oh, he's waking up. Nearly finished. And then Daddy had to take him for like the last 10-15 minutes or so because I got sick. Just like it's a reaction to some, I don't know, the drugs or something. But they put like some anti-sickness thing in, and the sickness went away instantly, which again was amazing. And then that was it. So we went down to recovery for I think probably a couple of hours, about 2 hours. I fed him for the first time. He fed for an hour, actually an hour. I was pleasantly surprised, like, how easy breastfeeding was.
You thought you were going to do nothing.
Yeah.
You thought you'd touch it and then you'd be like, no.
I thought, I told the midwife that I was going to give it a go, so she put him on, and I thought, like, he's going to go on, I'm going to hate it. But no, it was fine. So he stayed there for an hour. Like, he latched on straight away. She was, like, impressed at how good at feeding he was, like, straight away. And then we went to the ward. I was worried about what would happen after my pain relief wore off because I was still numb for like about 3 hours. I was expecting to be in a lot of pain, but honestly, like the pain was like nothing really. I've had worse period pain. Like they kept me topped up on the drugs. I was on like, it wasn't anything like even particularly strong painkillers. I had paracetamol, codeine and ibuprofen, so just like the bog standard painkillers really. I had those for like every 4 hours for like the first day or first 2 days. We stayed in hospital for 2 days because obviously I'd had the section, so they keep you in. Baby, he was completely fine. He weighed 9 pounds 2 ounces. I can't believe I had a baby that was over 9 pounds. Like, I knew it was a good sized baby. I was expecting like, a good 8.
A baby.
8 or so pounds. Here he is. He's a very hungry boy. We're still breastfeeding. He's 3 weeks old today. So we stayed in for 2 days and then we all came home. And we've just been settling in. He's been through a bit of a growth spurt the last few days, so he's been a bit of a bugger. It's just the feet. He's so hungry, and when he's going through the growth spurt, he was like even more hungry. But we've kept going, and we had a really good night last night, our best night so far. And here he is, little Archie Sterling Marshall, 5th of May,
Archie.
on his due date. Oh, nice.
Yum, 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 yum. And
Beautiful.
bye.
Bye.